Hello, fourth graders. I know we haven't had a math lesson here in a few days, but it's Friday, and what I want you to do is I want you to get ready because I'm going to be coming at you guys pretty much nonstop now as we continue to work through this curriculum. We're in Unit 11, and the last time we talked, we were looking at circles. And we were talking about things that go clockwise and counter clockwise. You may have to go back to lesson 11.1 and review that to get ready, because what we're going to talk about today as we get a little further on into this lesson is degrees. Now, last lesson we talked about, if you take a circle, we know that a circle starts at 0, ends up at 360 degrees as it continues around the circle. And those degrees are what we're going to learn about. How there are 360 degrees in a circle, and a circle can go either way. So the measurement of your angles can be left or right. You'll see that as we move along. We also talked about we can break this circle into fractional parts. For example, this represents 1/4 of the circle. And likewise, it can be split into two parts where this is 1/2 and this is 1/2. So you can split it into actually 360 little divisions. And each one of these measurements, each one of these divisions has a degree equivalent measurement. So if we know it's 360 degrees around a circle, from here to here is half of that circle. So if it's 360, we're going to divide that by 2, because there's 2 parts. We divide it by half, and it tells us that this is 180 degrees. It's half of 360. If it was 1/4 of 360 degrees, it would be 90. And 90 is a special kind of angle. It's called the right angle. Remember when we talked about angles? We have an acute angle, and then we have an obtuse angle, and we have a right angle. Obtuse is an angle that's smaller than 90 degrees. It can be anywhere from 0 degrees to 90 degrees, but less, 0 to 89. Once it hits 90, it becomes a right angle. And that's kind of a special angle. Now, if we drew in where the 90-degree angle would be, an angle that's greater than 90 degrees is an obtuse angle. And You'll understand that, I'm sure, a little better as we make our way into this lesson. So this lesson begins on page 607 in your math workbook. And the first thing it shows you there is a problem where you have a bicycle whose tire has spokes. It has lots of spokes. And it says that the angle between those spokes is a fraction 10/360ths. So what's the measure of the angle formed between the spokes? So each 1/360th measures 1 degree. In other words, in the circle, there are 360 points all around that circle. Each one represents 1 degree around the circle. So 10/360ths would be 10 degrees. It has 10 of those 360 degree points around that circle. So the angle between the spokes would be a very slight angle, because it's only going to be 10, and that little circle you put up there is the symbol for degrees. It's also the same symbol that you use for, like, temperature. Like today, it's about 30 degrees. Where did this snow come from? Give me a break. On page 608, there you see the right angle. And you see the little symbol that always appears on a right angle. So here's your right angle. And this little box in the corner there is a symbol that always denotes the fact that that angle is a right angle, and a right angle is always 90 degrees, or 1/4 of the 360 degrees, right? 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 90 equals 360. It's all mathematical. So now you understand that. If we take the 90-degree angle and we take it down to here, we've got 90 degrees here, 90 degrees here. So that is 180 degrees. Now, that also has a name that we learned in our vocabulary earlier. That's a straight angle. Why? Because it's straight. If it wasn't straight, it would look like that, which is an obtuse angle. Remember, greater than 90 degrees. You guys are getting right on top of this, I can tell. Now, the thing to remember is in every circle, it is broken into 360 little parts. All the way around that circle, there are 360. Now, I'm not going to draw 360, but just so you know that it is defined all around the circle, 1 degree at a time. from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 200 to 300 to 360. 360 increments of distance in degrees. On page 609, this is where you start getting to use your brain. Now, I'm not going to do all of these problems here because I want you to work at it because that's how you learn it. Let's look at number 1 there. Find the measure of the angle. And in this particular problem, it's showing you that within that 360 degree circle, 1/3 of it is represented by the angle. Now, it's real easy to figure this out, but if you don't know your multiplication tables and you can't divide, you got a bigger problem. And you need to work on that. Because when it's defined as a fraction of the circle, it's a simple division problem. 1/3 of 360. So 360 divided by 3 goes in there once, goes in there twice, goes in there 0. That angle, which represents 1/3 of those 360 degree marks, is equivalent to 120 degrees. Now, you can check that. 120 plus 120 plus 120 equals 360. So you know your answer's right. You can do that with any fraction of the circle. If it's half the circle, you divide the 360 by 2. If it's 3/4 of the circle, you divide it by 4. For example, if it is 3/4 of the circle, in other words, this is our angle here, and it represents 3/4. Just so you're clear on this, you take your 360, divide it by 4, which is 90, correct? And then you're going to multiply that times the 3, because there are 3 of those 4s. 3 times 90 is 270. Now, we know that 1/4 of a circle is 90, so if we added the missing 1/4, what does it give us? We're right back at 360. So we know our answer is correct. Now, it asks you to classify the angles, and that is it an obtuse angle, an acute angle, a right angle, or a straight angle? On the next page, oh boy, there's a word problem. Gotta love the word problems. I used to hate them when I was in school, but I just love them now because you know why? I figured out the trick to figuring out word problems. And that is, don't care about the words. Just care about the numbers. And the last sentence that tells you what it wants you to do. Get rid of all the words that drive you crazy. Let's look at the problem. Ava started reading at 3:30. Okay, so this is a clock problem. So I'm going to put an A there. She started reading at 3:30. And is that AM or PM? It's PM. So it's in the afternoon. She stopped for a snack at 4:30. 15. So she stops. During this time, through what fraction of a circle did the minute hand turn? And how many degrees does that represent? So, let's make a clock. And we know that the little hand is going to be on the 3, the big hand is going to be on the 6. That is 3:30. She stopped at 4:15. So that means this hand moves clockwise. This would make it 4 o'clock. So we're going to go another 15 minutes, and we're going to end up right here. So that means she has gone 45 minutes or 3/4 of an hour. And we just did the math on that, didn't we? 3/4. So here's my angle right here. Big obtuse angle. That represents 3/4 and 3/4 again. You take the 4, divide your 360, that gives you 90. And because we had 3/4, we're going to take the 90 times 3, and that equals 270 degrees. Got it? All right. This is pretty basic stuff. You got homework on 611 and 612. And next week, if you have a protractor at home, find it. If you don't have a protractor and your parents happen to be going out for some necessary trip to a store, put a little protractor on your list of things to get. Because if you have one, it'll make understanding the protractor a lot simpler. Because a protractor is what you use to easily identify an angle. It's the tool that's used to discover what the angle happens to be. So, that's it for today. Y'all take care of yourselves. Stay out of trouble. Be good. And always, always be kind.